to introduce our wonderful speaker, Reverend Joanne Boruck, with It's in the Palm of Our Hands.
Thank you, Adrian. And Braylon, thanks for gracing our presence. Thanks, Braylon. Is that Adrian's coat? Yeah. Oh, I love that. Do you remember that, you guys? Oh, it was such a rite of passage. I love it. I want to tell you that the Science of Mind April book is out there. It's called Vulnerability. Oh. Okay. And I want to thank Russ and Maurice for getting the mic working. All is well. Good morning, beautiful. Oh, thanks so much. Welcome to April 2nd, 2023, Center for Spiritual Living, Red Deer. I want to welcome you home. I want to welcome you home into your own heart. Just feel it beat for a moment. Today, I want to welcome you home into your breath. And so in this moment, if you just bring your awareness to the in-breath and the out-breath, gently close your eyes and put your hands on your heart. And breathing in and out for 3 breaths. Acknowledge the gift of being alive. You know, when you breathe in awareness, your body follows. It follows with your breath and the beat of your heart, and all is well. So be here now as I speak these words of affirmative prayer for all those here in mind, body, and spirit, and those who are needing our affirmative healing prayers today, our ministers, our spiritual community, ourselves. As with a grateful heart this morning, I know and declare there is one power, one presence, one. And we are all connected by the golden thread of consciousness. I feel my connection to the universal power of love. I feel my connection to the internal presence of love. I feel my connection to the earthly flow of love. This is where we all meet, in the one power and presence, in love. Today all things are made new and clear. A new thought is emerging from me. It is good. It is true. It is authentic. It is kind. It is loving. Today I'm learning to be vulnerable in a new way through love and compassion. I accept what is mine to do and release the rest. With loving thanks for this Sunday, for this teaching, for all those who walk the path of higher consciousness, and all those who walk the path to Center for Spiritual Living and contribute to the raising of our awareness for all. Thank you, Ernest Holmes. I let this go into the universal mind where it is returned to me, multiplied and overflowing. And together we say, and so it is. In this state of bliss, let us open our hearts to all those who come into our thoughts. Today I send healing thoughts to Lorna, to Reverend Gail, to Gord, to Roger, to Sweta, to Linda, to Norris, and many, many more. Let's take a moment to acknowledge all those who have come to your mind. And if your eyes are still closed, you can open them now. Well, good morning again. Wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you're welcome here. This week begins the term Holy Week. And spiritually, it's the optimum time for us to discover the metaphysical meaning of Holy Week and Easter. All the hype around it, and more importantly, how we can learn to apply it in our own lives. And then we have a theme, a monthly theme, and our theme is vulnerability. And I think that's a direct correlation to how we can support ourselves and others. So my talk is entitled, In the Palm of Your Hands. And this relates to Palm Sunday, which is this Sunday, and how the palms that are spoken about in Palm Sunday are also about the physical use we can make of these palms as we make them a vessel for all we need to heal. We can lay down our palms and release it into the world. This morning, it's my intention to encourage you to treat yourself gently and kindly with honor and respect, because that fosters vulnerability. So just for a moment, indulge me. If you are here for meditation, this isn't new. But I want you to use your creative mind. And by the power of your creative mind, imagine you're outside in a beautiful field. And you look down in front of you, and there is a bird that's just fallen out of the nest, just standing there. And you are driven and guided to put your hands together and reach down and let that bird step into your palms. And with such gentleness, such reverence, you look at how vulnerable it is, with love and compassion. And as you look up, you see a tree in front of you. And perhaps there's a nest in that tree. It looks so soft and inviting, and you place the tiny bird into the nest. The mother, you see, is soaring above, and as soon as you step away, she comes and comforts a tiny bird. You know, you can do that for yourself. Whatever you're working through, just put your hands down and let it step into your palms and hold it in front of you and treat it with love and compassion. Look at it. This is who you are. It's just resting there in the palm of your hands, and love it with an open heart. Today I'm going to put my relationships with my sisters in here. I feel pretty vulnerable around them, and I'm just going to give them love. And you know what? When I look at love, when I change the way I look at things, the things I look at change. All of a sudden, I see their loving essence. And you know, I can carry that around with me for a long time, this vulnerability around my sisters. I know they don't watch, so it's safe. But you know what I noticed when you're walking around holding on something? You don't have free hands to embrace something greater. So it's really a message to me. It was what I'm carrying is stopping me from getting what I deserve. And when I put that down or lift it up, I'm free. And as I was thinking about cupping your hands, Gord says to me, I was reminded that the cup in your palms can also be used to drink from. The palms together can reach into a stream and drink every last drop that we hold in our hands. Drink up the knowledge, the truth, the abundance of God, and share it with all. Thank you, Gord. Let's give him a hand. That was pretty wise thought. So now we're on to vulnerability. You know, you hear that word vulnerability and it just makes you cringe. But do you know what it really means? Do you know that vulnerability is the key ingredient to personal transformation? It creates an expanded awareness of what lies beneath the surface. And vulnerability is a building block to a thriving body, mind, and spirit and community. So how can the message of Palm Sunday help? Well, we can use it as an example of vulnerability. Our teaching recognizes Jesus as the great example, not the exception. So it's perfect that this Holy Week we use his journey as a great example to inspire and encourage us. Palm Sunday marks the radical Jesus' triumphant entry into Jerusalem and the end of hiding and secrecy. Imagine how vulnerable he must have felt. Just knowing, I'm going to be persecuted and I don't care. And the story says that initially people started to lay down their garments to cushion his walk. But as he got farther and farther along, people started to put down palms, date palms, to cushion his walk and to raise him up in consciousness. And so laying of the palms on the road really signified the unlimited resource of strength. The road is paved with strength. And we too should lay down our palms in triumph over our strength, honor, and the road we walk. So Jesus touched the inner consciousness of what we call Christ consciousness. And he did it to a greater degree than anyone in history. He was the master teacher, we call him. And I keep reminding myself that he was an example. He was an example. When he said, "It's done unto you as you believe," that was an eternal truth. His entire experience was an example of that statement. Do you know his great passion was to go through the process of whatever he was going through and to teach everyone that spiritual power within is greater than anything outside of us. I think we should lay down our own palms in celebration and triumph of the strength we have in our own lives. I also believe that a book written 2,000 years ago has so many hidden messages, but it's been awaiting our higher selves to unravel the spiritual or metaphysical message of this message. And I think that time is now. I think enough of us have raised our consciousness and we can look at all those books, even the Bible, and find out how we can use it in our life. What is the message? And we can recalibrate those lessons into our modern times. This poem that Ernest Holmes wrote, it's called The Call, and it speaks to this. This I saw, or else some inner presence made it known to me. The universe is filled with life, the air, the sky, the sea. Teem with intelligence, with majesty and might, and deep within me, more subtle inner sight. Beholds and sees, comprehends and knows all, nor fears nor falters, but answers the divine call to be as one beyond the bounds of time and space, to overcome the bondage of the human race, and leap with trusted, undaunted free into the depths of that infinite sea, whose waters calm are ready to receive those who in simple faith believe. Are you being called to live in simple faith? I remember taking a class once and we were talking about consciousness and higher consciousness and science of mind, and Beth says to me, "You know what I like to call it all? I just like to call it simple. It's a simple way to live." I tell you, 74 layers of judgment fell off of me when I found out it was simple. And if you know Beth, you know that she lives that walk, that simple walk. Thank you, Beth. And last month I talked about authenticity. Well, vulnerability is a crucial point in being authentic. I think vulnerability and authenticity are two sides of the same coin. But I'm not going to tell you that. I'm going to read you some quotes that I found. When I was looking up quotes on vulnerability, there must have been 2,000. So Marianne Williams says, think of everything you've ever experienced that was painful. That's the meaning of Good Friday. Let it go. Think of the ways that love ultimately healed your heart. That's the meaning of Easter. We rise again. And Mark Nepo said, no bird can fly without opening its wings, when I talked about holding on to something. And no one can love without exposing their heart. So put your palms down and release what's holding you back. Ernest Holmes says, every one of us has in back of us the potential of the universe. There's an irresistible potential pressing against everyone for self-expression. If we listen, we shall hear it. Not as a voice, but as a feeling, as a divine urge to express. Even Brene Brown, I bet you 1,000 of them were hers. She says vulnerability is a state of emotional exposure which comes with a certain degree of uncertainty. Uncertainty involves being open and willing to love and be loved. I think vulnerability is just stepping out and revealing the full expression of ourselves. But it's not a weakness. I don't think vulnerability is a weakness. I think it's a choice. It's a choice to release our thoughts and feelings and a way to nurture an authentic life. And why is it important? Because when we're vulnerable, we allow other people to be vulnerable too. There's a lot of vulnerable people in the world. And we can create safe places for safe communities, for safe relationships to thrive and grow. In this offering to be vulnerable, we create that container for transformation. And it becomes a starting point for authenticity and connection. Authenticity and meaningful connection are born out of vulnerability. Ernest Holmes again says, we resist being what we really are. Oh, I know that. We need to accept the fuller expression of the mind that is within us. For in its creative flow through us rests our entire future. The greater person that we are, the richer life we desire to enjoy. You know, in Japan, there's this saying, it's called wabi-sabi. You ever heard it before? And you know it means the perfection of imperfection, the value of being vulnerable, the beauty in all things. Wabi-sabi. It's the beauty of all things, imperfect, impermanent, and incomplete, the antithesis of our classical Western notion of beauty, of something perfect, enduring, and monumental. Well, last month, we traveled the whole world now. Last month we were in Africa and we learned Saubola, which means I see you. And now wabi-sabi in Japanese. For the beauty of all things, I am wabi-sabi. You put those together. Saubola, wabi-sabi. I see you. You are the beauty in all things. So I'd love it now if you just turn to somebody beside you or around you and say, Saubola, wabi-sabi. I see you. You are the beauty in all things. I'm going to think about, I've been saying Saubola a lot lately. Now I got to add wabi-sabi. So there's so much work being done on vulnerability. I tried to think of a personal story about vulnerability, but really I just couldn't decide on just one. So I left it out. But I did learn that vulnerability is our authentic state. Being vulnerable means being open for wounding, but also for pleasure. Being vulnerable means that the wounds of life open you to bounty and beauty. You know, my favorite one that I found was Adrienne Posey. She says, vulnerability lets the light in. Or as I've heard said so many times, of course we're all cracked. That's how the light gets in. So this week, I'd just like to ask you, how can seeing yourself as an individual expression of spirit influence our ability and willingness to be vulnerable in areas that may be challenging? Can you lay down your challenges and reach for something greater? I invite each of you this Passion Sunday to discover within yourself a passion for life, not hindered by limitations, by false beliefs, but a life that's open to infinite possibilities within you. Put down your palms and embrace your vulnerability gently and love it all. I invite you to allow this passion to unfold in your life without fear, without doubt, and without hesitation, knowing that God is always with you, guiding and moving you forward with a passion for living. In closing, I affirm, you are wholly complete. You are wabi-sabi. Lay down your burdens with gentle palms. Have a beautiful life and rise again. Thank you, my beautiful friends. I am Reverend Joanne Faith, Peace and Love Boruck, and I offer you my palms this Sunday. And so it is. So now I'm just going to walk over and put Gordon on the spot because I'm going to make him do closing. I'll bring you my mic though, Gord.
Perfect, yes. Can you all hear me? So aren't we blessed? You know, and we talk all the time about one source, one mind. And obviously that one source, one mind is of infinite intelligence. Because look at all the people that came out here to hear the intelligent words of Reverend Joanne. We are so blessed. So today, on a little different note, as Reverend Joanne said, this is Holy Week. And I know she does a wonderful service for all of us. I have chosen that I shall, because I know the whole world right now is praying for the second coming of Christ. I shall embrace the Christ consciousness as my consciousness right here, right now. And that seems pretty easy as the whole world's praying in our favor. Anybody that would like these words to be theirs, please embrace them now. Aren't we all so blessed? As I am blessed by each and every one of you. And lovely jacket too. Thank you everybody for joining us today.